All right, everybody, welcome back to the Gridiron Uncensored podcast for a Week 8 edition. Our preview of what's going down this week. We got another loaded schedule. We've already had a bunch of games going on this week, so Monday, Tuesday. And hell, we got games going on right now with Virginia Tech absolutely blasting Boston College in the first half, 28-0, and then Marshall's winning against Georgia State 25-10. So cool week so far. A lot of Group of 5 action, Conference USA stuff going down. And then, starting off tomorrow, we've got a couple other games. We got Florida State, Duke, Oregon, Purdue, Oklahoma State, BYU, and then Fresno State, Nevada. So that's a pretty solid slate, especially, can BYU not get taken down by Oklahoma State? It's BYU's got a great opportunity this season to lead the Big 12. But they can't slip up. Oklahoma State's probably starting a new quarterback. Purdue against a top 5 team at home, night game on a Friday night. That's one of those, man. You got to watch out for Purdue. Ohio State, we got to. Never mind. I was like, hold on. Somebody called my phone. I was like, holy shit. Sorry. But either way, Purdue, watch out, Oregon. Don't get that sleepy loss in old West Lafayette. And then Florida State. Duke, will the Noles go 1-6, boys and girls? We don't know. Another 1-6 potential is he says yes. Who was it? Oh, it's Houston and Kansas. Kansas, they're going 1-6. I'm calling it right now. Houston's getting that dub. Boys, anything on these games before we jump into our pick'em? Top 10 games of the week that we've kind of picked.
Not really.
No.
No.
No. All right. Well,
Florida State's got a culture problem. They're going to lose to Duke. It's written in stone. No big deal. Yeah.
There's a lot of games I feel like you might get surprised this week. Like Michigan State and Iowa, the spread's pretty close, 5.5 for Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
Games like Kentucky and Florida, the battle of the mid. We'll see what happens there.
Curious about Cincinnati and Arizona State.
Yes.
I was kind of shocked at the 3-point spread there.
So that I was shocked initially when I saw that, but then I remember Jeff Sims is starting quarterback this week. Levitt is out because he injured his ribs during the last game. So I think they're just like, hey, maybe we'll see if we can get through this game without him before we start our next stretch. Yeah. But we all know how Jeff Sims has been, at quarterbacks. Yeah. So Arizona State, bold move here. I know your quarterback's injured. Let's hope you can get through it because really cool story coming out of Arizona State this year. All right, boys. Trev, if you got graphics, shoot her up, and
we're good. We solid.
We'll start burning out on our way to Miami and Louisville, guys. Big game for Miami here. Number 6 currently. They're kind of being, they in their own minds being disrespected. We're undefeated. We're number 2. Why are we back? Why aren't we higher up in the polls? Well, it's because you've suffered a couple of really close wins, some that probably should have been losses. Louisville, on the other hand, 2 losses to SMU and then Notre Dame. They got by Virginia, but this is a game that they really need to win, and Jeff Brom needs to show out. So I'm curious what you guys think on this game. Who's going to win it? Is it a convincing win maybe for Miami to get them some respect?
I'm for this one. I have to roll with the Canes still because at the end of the day for me, it's the quarterback play, and right now every team that Miami goes up against, they win that battle almost every single time. Cam Ward's playing very good, very calm football. He's not out of control or anything like that. He seems to have. We're composed. He's very composed in just about every game that he's played in that I've been able to watch, and I just like I like the way that they're doing the offense right now, and I just think Miami's going to be a little too much for Louisville in this one, even though they're at Louisville.
Yep, yeah, I think it's a little bit of a trap game for Miami, and this is kind of where Louisville has always thrived as a school. They'll catch big teams mid-season like this off guard. But, I mean, I still think Miami's got just a little bit too much talent. Cam Ward has concerned me with his interceptions a little bit this year. He's made some pretty bad ones and pretty crucial moments of games. But I still just think there's a little bit too much talent at Miami for Louisville to get them here. So I'm going Miami.
Yeah, this one was a tough one for me. Not necessarily because I trust Louisville, but their ground game has been pretty solid. It's around 60th in the country, but I mean, still they're getting decent movement. Opposed to Miami, where Martinez, I still want to see more from the running game, and not just Cam Ward's ability either. Though I think obviously Cam Ward's a special talent, you got to use his legs, but I want to see more from Martinez. I do think Miami's going to be just a little bit too much, but I think it's going to be really close, guys. On the road, like last second type stuff again. Miami finds a way late, and maybe with the help of the refs one more time to keep this season rolling. So
they've had 2 this year. Let's make it 3.
Third time's the charm.
Or the rest have been helping everybody out this year, or hurting everybody, depending on which way you look at it.
Very true. I mean, it could be a fool me 3 times, and then now we're going to get screwed, and Louisville's going to win. Yeah. The spread I forgot to mention is 5. I mean, you can see it on the graphic there, but if you're not, watching the show, you're listening on the podcast. Miami opened up as a 4-point favorite. It's currently 5 in favor of Miami on the road. So I'm going to run with Miami on this one. I do think it's going to be really tight. All right, next one. Let's cruise. Not in cruise control. Let's go as fast as we can. Get over and talk about Georgia and Texas. And this is another big one down here in Austin, Texas. And you got number 1 Texas versus number 5 Georgia. Boys, what are you thinking on this one? Does Texas finally up against a team with a legitimate offense? How do they handle this one?
So I hate this game so much because as much as I want to pick Texas, I have a very hard time betting against Georgia after Georgia's basically been getting hated on for the better part of 2 weeks, essentially. But in Austin, God bless, they are tough. They're a tough beat in Austin,
and it's a night game.
And it's a night game, yes. And you know what? Nope, I'm gonna go with the Bulldogs. Yep. I just think here's my thought process on it is that while I like Quinn Ewers and everything, I think that Georgia, as a team as a whole, has way more experience in big time night games across their whole roster than the entire Texas roster does. And I just feel like the experience of Georgia will win out. Don't get me wrong. I know that Texas has experienced offensive line and things like that. But as far as this type of game in a night atmosphere, regardless of the location, I just have a feeling that Georgia will be much ready to play from the kickoff, more so than amped up and maybe overly amped up like Texas might be. And that's just my thought process. And I think they might be a little more calm, cool, and collected, knowing the process, knowing how to handle these big games in a night atmosphere, even in an away game. But that's just where my head's at with it. I think the teams overall are evenly matched. I think that they both quarterbacks are comparable to each other. I think, before the Alabama game, I thought that the best secondary in the country was on Georgia's roster. But Alabama showed me that I might not be correct in that, which I think potentially is the route in which Texas should go, is basically follow the Alabama game plan for the most part and stretch the field, test these corners as much as possible with the speed that they have at wide receiver. If they don't, I think that Georgia definitely matches up very well in the front 7 category, in the fronts, both offensive defense against Texas. So that's where I'm at with it.
how I kind of see it is Georgia has faced a Clemson team who has showed they are not as bad as everybody wrote them off after that game. They've went on the road and beat Kentucky, who we know is a solid football team now. They probably should have beat Bama on the road. They beat Auburn. Mississippi State is not that great of a win, but they're battle tested against teams with a good experience and quality players. That's where I kind of worry about Texas. I know they got the win over Michigan this year, but the Michigan that they played is not the same Michigan of last year. And Michigan's kind of showed that they've had a lot of issues. And I don't think that judging how good Texas is based off that one game is enough for me.
Yeah.
Not to mention Isaiah Bond. I don't think he's going to get to play Saturday. And I know Texas had some injuries at running back. I don't know if they've healed up or not, but it's hard to pick against Texas at home. And Sark, he needs that big win too. He's kind of in the same boat as Dan Lanning. I mean, he got the win over Bama last year, but they got the Oklahoma loss. They lost to Washington in the playoffs. That he really needs like that signature win over like a top team with talent, and this is his opportunity to do that. However, it is hard to pick against Georgia, being battle tested as they are, and a lot of everybody's kind of leaning Texas, and I kind of feel like Georgia is being disrespected a little bit, especially being 5-point dogs. But again, Georgia's got some offensive problems of their own. Not having Brock Bowers, and that's really affected that passing game for Georgia. And the running game, I know it's on paper has looked decent, but it's not that same running game that they've had the last few years. So this is one of those games it's really hard to kind of judge it, because Georgia has those quality opponents that they face, and Texas really don't. So I feel like I don't really know Texas, but I do know that they do have a solid defense. I do know that they have, a lot of offensive weapons. It's just that battle up front. I'm going to go with Texas at home, but I mean that Georgia probably could get them, probably will get them even. But I like that Texas at home and Sark needing to get that big win.
Yeah, I agree. And the big thing is, again, they have not faced an offense that's legitimate. Obviously, like I said, Michigan, they have talent, but they've been struggling offensively. They have no identity, especially at the beginning of the season. It's a good win for them, but it's not, what everybody expected it to be. Oklahoma, again, solid defense. They trounced them, but offensively, they've got nothing. Mississippi State's the one that I'd say for both teams. Mississippi State, Texas beat them pretty well. Mississippi State last weekend against Georgia almost came back. Like they were in that game late. I know it was a 10-point victory, but it was close. So I've got concerns really for Georgia. Just in kind of letting teams hang around, but then Texas just because they're not tested by a real offense. And I'd say we said that about Michigan last year. There was times that Michigan wasn't, they were blowing through teams. They were doing, everything that they needed to do, shutting teams down. But everybody was like, well, how good are they really? They haven't faced anybody, with an offensive firepower. So I wonder if this is going to be the same, type of scenario this year for Texas. Being at home, night game, I don't know. I feel like that's gonna. I think the atmosphere is gonna be nuts for him. I'm gonna ride with Texas on this one, but it would not surprise me if Georgia goes in and finds a way to win. I do, like you said, concerns about the ground game a little bit too when it comes to Georgia, but not by much. But it's there. It's something to talk about. One other thing is curious. Do these off the field issues that Georgia's been dealing with, does that play into it at all? Last week Kirby Smart pushed a player. That's not a big, not a huge thing, I guess, but it's something. We got people getting arrested. Do you think that's an issue for Georgia in this season?
I'll tell you what. Here's my thought process on that. I don't think it's going to be an issue because they've been dealing with it for a decade.
That's true.
I mean, this is like the constant thing. So, like, there's a listener posed the question about the culture problem at Georgia. I was like, no, that's just the normal problem for Georgia. It's not a culture problem. It's just constantly a problem. Kids acting up and doing stupid ass stuff is a normal thing over in Georgia. To my knowledge, I mean, I'm trying to remember the last time I didn't hear about somebody getting in trouble at Georgia. I can't. I got nothing.
I mean, go ahead, Blake.
They've had I think it's 9 players arrested in the last year. And but if anything, I think that kind of strengthens Georgia. If you can handle a knot in the slammer, you can handle a knot on the field at DK Memorial. And as far as Kirby pushing the guy, I mean, I like it. I like a coach
showing that fight Kirby.
I want a coach to get out there and put it all on the field, son.
Yeah, well, it's funny when he was like, I didn't even see him in front of me when I pushed him to the side. I'm like,
he was blinded by rage. Blinded by rage.
But I do think there's an issue with Georgia in that.
An issue.
It stems from recruiting, obviously, and who you're going after, the people you're getting on your team. But when all you care about is winning, that's you don't give a shit about that.
All about them Benjamins, man. Once you get all these kids get that money, they don't give a rat's ass about nothing.
Yeah, and the reason you're not hearing about Colt as much as some other teams maybe is because they're winning. If they were losing, had a losing record right now, you're probably going to hear a lot more about it. But winning cures all in this world, and sure enough, that's how it's going. All right, let's move on. Alabama, Tennessee, we got a big one here. Number 7 versus number 11. Bama is currently 3-point favorites. Blake, do you want to lead into this one?
I can. So with this game, it's I already know who I'm picking, and
the Vols,
it comes down to which Alabama are you going to get on Saturday. And this season, Alabama's secondary has just been defensively altogether has been absolutely atrocious. We've had moments, first and second downs were great, but then third down, fourth down, it's pretty much a guarantee you're going to get the first down no matter what play you call. The amount of confusion we have, especially in the secondary, is just astounding to me at this point in the season. I feel like these are kinks that should be worked out at this point. We struggle with getting the defensive calls in. If you go back and watch the Vanderbilt game, I'm talking within seconds of the ball being snapped is when Womack's getting the call in to the defense. And it's like they're still looking at the sideline as the ball's being snapped. And this is a Tennessee team that will run, 4 to 5 plays in 15 seconds. I mean, that's something that's going to be an issue for Alabama, and it puts us at a huge disadvantage. And then on the flip side, Alabama's got a quarterback who, again, great athlete, but he is not capable of standing in the pocket, making his reads, and then making a quick decision. He showed it time and time again. And I'm not saying he's an awful quarterback. He's good, but he's not great. And he puts Alabama in more bad situations. And, I mean, he creates a lot of chaos, positive and negative. Yeah. And this is not a game that I feel it's going to pan out well unless we just had a killer week of practice. And I've been saying that for 3 weeks in a row, and it seems like each week we're getting worse and worse and worse. So I like the way Tennessee stacks up in this game, and that's who I'm picking. I think Tennessee is going to beat Bama. I hate to say it, but I just feel like they have their offensive system, the way they work, they're going to be able to move the football, and I think our secondary is going to really struggle to stop it. And then you flip that around, they have a very good defense, and Milroe under pressure struggles. and I think they're going to be able to create that pressure. So I hate to say it. I hope Bama's got the kinks worked out and comes out and proves me wrong, but I think Tennessee takes this one, unfortunately.
Wow. Okay. I was joking about the Vols thing, but okay.
He wasn't.
All right. Yeah, apparently he wasn't.
Send it, Trevor. What do you think?
I mean, I really, personally, I feel like I agree with most of what Blake said, except about the quarterback part. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm no fan of Milroe. I will first off say that, but honestly, I am really not a fan. I'm a whatever want to lay you. Nico, I'll tell you what, man. Like, I don't think he's all that he's cracked up to be. And I honestly think that Milroe is a better athlete than he is by far. I don't know if he's a better thrower necessarily, but I think overall, I think that the offensive side of the ball, Alabama beats Tennessee all day long, in my opinion. I think they got the talent across the board to beat out Tennessee's offense. If it becomes a shootout, I take Alabama's offense over Tennessee's offense because of the weapons, not just Milroe, but the weapons that they have. I think overall, I think Bama will win that shootout. Now, that being said, I do think Tennessee has a better defense than Alabama. So it's kind of that give and take deal. And with that all being said, I just think that this will be a touchdown game, and I think Alabama gets a last-minute touchdown within like a minute to go, and Nico throws some wild deep passes that ends up getting picked off by the safety.
Yeah. This one is tough because both teams have had their struggles. Late, Tennessee's lost to Arkansas. Blake mentioned struggles against Oklahoma, though they have a stronger defense, that they think than people give Oklahoma credit for. Offensively, they were kind of sputtering in the second half. They said it was calling off the dogs, whatever. But then next week, they lost to Arkansas. And then you go and play Florida and go to overtime. Honestly, a game that they probably should have lost. And then Alabama, on the other hand, you go out and great start against Georgia, and then you almost lose it. You lose to Vandy, and then you almost lose to South Carolina. So it's just an interesting battle between these two. And like I said, Milroe's had his issues. Nico's had his issues. He's a younger quarterback. Obviously, he's got a lot of room to grow. But I think Tennessee's got to figure out something because they're playing a legitimate offense here in Alabama, regardless of their struggles. When you look at teams that they've played, OU doesn't have an offense. Kent State's trash. NC State's trash. Arkansas's had issues, but they found a way to win because they've got some offensive, ability. Florida has some offensive ability. So when we're playing Bama, I think Bama is just going to be a little too much. Even though it's at home, it's going to be a crazy atmosphere. I think Bama and Milroe is going to find some way to slip out this long run and beat Tennessee. I also watch for Ryan Williams and the deep passes because I think Tennessee's got some weakness in their back end that could be exploited. So we'll see. I think it's going to be close, but Bama, I got them coming away with the win on this one. But I could easily see Tennessee winning too with that ground game. So we'll see. In the defensive front, like Blake mentioned, for Tennessee's nasty. So we shall see. Let's talk Michigan and Illinois. Top 25 matchup there in Champaign. I read it was like one of the first ones there in like 10 years or something. It's crazy for Illinois. But when you're talking about Michigan, Illinois, Illinois has been pretty much doing pretty well. Altmaier's been playing really nicely. Before that, they beat Nebraska. Penn State, they kind of had they had a loss, but then Purdue last weekend. Crazy game. Purdue was coming back, and they still found a way to win. Michigan coming off a bye week. Boys, what do you feel on this one?
Michigan hasn't announced who they're actually going to start, have they?
It's Tuttle.
Okay, good. All right,
Yes.
Michigan. So, wow. I mean, I'm not saying I'm a homer or nothing. No, I think it's pretty cool.
You've been accused.
Huh?
You've been accused.
I have been accused, and hey, guess what? I am a homer.
Shove it.
Look, even when Brendan was picking the other team, I was still hanging on to Michigan. I'm
That's
just
right.
saying. But no, I think it's pretty cool. One, that Michigan and Illinois are both ranked at this game. I find it interesting that Illinois is ranked higher than Michigan in this game. I'm curious I didn't look it up, but I noticed it, and I was just like, I wonder when the last time that happened.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I feel like it's Michigan. I feel like the defense is going to win them this game. I think it's going to be semi low scoring for the most part, like maybe a 17-14, maybe 21-14, somewhere like that, something like that. But I think Michigan just, runs the ball well, like they normally would. And as long as Tuttle can be and I don't mean this as a bad
Slight.
thing, but a
Yeah.
game manager. He
Yep.
needs to manage the game, no turnovers, make the completions when you need to make the completions. And if he can do that, which what it appeared when he did come into the game, it looked like he would be able to do that.
Yeah.
Then I think that Michigan will be just fine. I still say that they need to start the freshman, but that's just me.
Yeah, I do think Michigan has an advantage running the ball, but Illinois to me has looked very balanced this year, and I still just have too much question marks on offense for Michigan. I feel like defensively, I give them a little bit of an edge, but Illinois, I feel like they have something to prove. And the Purdue game, I know it was Purdue, but they showed me that their offense is capable of scoring when it needs to.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of one of my concerns with Illinois. And so I know if they have to, they're able to turn it on. Granted, Michigan's defense is night and day compared to what Purdue's was.
Yeah.
But, I can only go off what's on film. And I feel like Illinois is just barely going to edge this one out. I feel like they're due for a good one over Michigan. And I just feel like they're going to get it here.
Yeah, and it's possible. The spread is only 3.5 for Michigan. They are on the road, but when I'm looking at this game, I'm looking at Illinois' offensive line, and when they played a legitimate front in Penn State, they struggled big time. And Michigan has a legitimate front, despite their issues in pass protection at the moment, which gives Altmaier some chances. If guys like Josiah Stewart and Moore and Mason Graham can get after the quarterback, which I think they will, I think it's going to be a long day for the Illinois offense in passing situations. But Michigan, like you mentioned, though, they've got their own offensive struggles. So what did they find in the bye week? Is Tuttle going to come out and kind of show what he did when he first came in with actual having a full 2 weeks of practice as a starter? He said that before coming into this game or stepping in last week, he hadn't practiced but like 2 days since last season because he's been out in the spring. He's been injured, dealing with injuries. So
that's what happens when you've been in the program for 7 years. You pretty much know the playbook backwards and forwards and sideways.
Yeah, so I don't think it's a playbook thing. It's just like getting the reps and getting the comfortability again. But again, he's been injured, so he was cleared 1 week, the week of the Washington game. So I mean, we'll see if he comes in and steps up like he did early on, and we'll see what happens. The fumble late against him, that sucks. That's just a great play from the defense. And then he threw the pick. It was a tightrope, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. We don't know until they come out and show it. I think Michigan will win this game. I think it's going to be close and probably ugly again for Michigan, but I think the defensive line will find a way to force some issues for Illinois. Let's talk LSU and Arkansas, guys. This one threw it up there. It's a 2.5-point spread for LSU. Last week, they had a nice comeback win against Ole Miss. They're number 8 in the country right now. Arkansas, it sounds like Green is going to be a full go for the game. I know there's been question marks about him playing. But if he's playing, I think this is going to be another tight battle. It's in Fayetteville. What do you guys feel on this one? It's a tough. To me, this is a tough.
Well,
I think Arkansas.
Arky?
I don't Brian Kelly. Yeah, I don't whatever. That guy's a terrible coach. I don't give a shit what anyone says. Right, I was
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Arkansas,
Yeah.
go.
Whooping.
Get it. No, I like the overall. I think that Arkansas actually has probably one of the best teams they've had in a long time this year with the quarterback play and then how everybody's playing around him. And I just think that LSU's too damn inconsistent. They are so hot and cold throughout an entire game. It's so hard to kind of get a grasp on what exactly kind of team. And Nussmeier, I was just like, whatever with that guy. I'm just like, I'm sticking with my previous statement is that guy is not a good quarterback. He might be manageable, but I don't think he's. I think Arkansas has the better quarterback in this matchup.
Yeah, I'm cheering for Arkansas, and I hope they win. You know, my daughter is an Arkansas fan, and I guess that's who we would claim as our second team. But I feel like LSU has really defensively, they've stepped up throughout the course of the season. Offensively, they still got their struggles, but they're still finding a way to get in the end zone.
Yeah.
And so I think LSU is going to find a way because I'm kind of the other way about Taylor Green. I think he's kind of gotten in his own way most of the season. And it's kind of something at this point. I feel like if he was going to get out of the way, he would have done that by now. So I think LSU is going to win more so from Arkansas shooting themselves in the foot throughout the game because I think Arkansas has a better team. I just think they're a little more inconsistent than LSU is.
Yeah, to me, I think Nussmeier is actually a pretty solid quarterback. He has issues, I think, in the pocket at times, but when this guy scrambles, he can make shit happen, and that's where he's dangerous. And he's actually, when you look at the advanced statistics on him, he's the best quarterback in the country when it comes to avoiding pressure while scrambling and making a throw. So if Arkansas is getting after him, they got to find some way to contain him in the pocket. Watch the tape from what happened to Ole Miss and find a way to keep him, in that zone and force him to make passes from there. If you can do that, I think they can beat him. But like you said, they got to get out of their own way. We've been saying it all year. They did against Tennessee, but they screwed up against Texas A&M. They screwed up against Oklahoma State. Have they gotten that out of their system? We'll see. But I think LSU is going to be just a little too much to handle. It's going to be close, though. I feel like all these games just tight matchups. But I am going to go with LSU as much as I like Arkansas myself. I've always been a fan of their area, the country, the stadium, and colors as well. But that's besides the point. Let's move on. Let's talk a really interesting matchup that probably nobody would have thought about being a big game, in the preseason. But Nebraska and Indiana, this one currently is, again, Indiana's number 16. They're looking to move up. They're undefeated. They're 6.5-point favorites over Nebraska. What do you guys think about this game?
This is an interesting game, honestly, because on one hand, I am tempted to pick Nebraska, but at the same time, I am rooting for Indiana to keep going the way they're going. And I think I am going to pick Indiana in this one. Just because I think that Nebraska is not quite there yet. I think next year, maybe Nebraska's year. A full year with what's his name, Raiola underneath center, have him have that full year of experience, getting full off season, and with workouts and everything like that. While I think he's been great and he's done really well, I think that he just needs a little bit more polishing, and I think Nebraska can take that next step but I don't think that'll happen this year. So I think it'll be Indiana in this time around.
Agree.
Yeah, I've got. I think Nebraska takes a big step here. Defensively, I think they've got a
Clearly,
really
me and
solid
Blake are on
defense.
opposite ends of the spectrum on this one.
Well, I feel like Indiana. I don't feel like they've had like that big game moment. Their schedule's been fairly soft up until this point, and Nebraska has faced. Granted, they lost the Illinois game, but I kind of feel like there was some stuff that happened that they should have won that game. Same thing, Colorado. Granted, it's Colorado, but they have a high-powered offense. Nebraska was able to kind of shut that down. And I just feel like defensively, Nebraska is the best team that Indiana's faced this season.
Mhm.
And though they're balanced, and I know they've been able to put points up, but that's come against, UCLA, who else? Maryland, Northwestern. And I feel like Nebraska is going to figure it out this week, and I think they'll take them down.
Okay.
Yeah. This one's, I feel like, really for both teams. We mentioned in the preseason, we don't know until we see it because, one, Indiana brought in a whole new coaching staff, hell, a whole new team. And it was like, this team could be really good or they could be really freaking bad. Right now, it's looking like they're really solid. But Blake, I agree with you, Blake. Northwestern's, they've kind of got issues, even though they're not, I don't think they're horrible, but they're not good. Rutgers for Nebraska, only a 14-7 game. Rutgers strong defense, offensively challenged. I feel like that's a story for a lot of teams this year. But I don't know. I feel like the seasoned quarterback and Curtis Rourke is going to be able to find a way to make it happen late in this game. It's a home game for Indiana. Again, being 6-0, this stadium should be freaking crazy right now. Like if they're not supporting this coaching staff and this team, there's a problem. So I feel like Indiana's going to find a way to win with Ellison on the ground and Rourke, especially at quarterback, being a seasoned vet. I think he won't make any mistakes in a big match. So I'm going to go with Indiana. But anything can happen. I mean, Nebraska and Rayola could easily go out and win this game. So we will see. Moving on, Iowa State, UCF, interesting match. Really, Iowa State's favored pretty heavily. They're 13.5-point favorites. UCF was one that we talked about in the offseason as like a danger team. They've got a lot of pieces. They did well in the portal, but it's been a really lackluster season for them, losing 3 straight to Colorado, Florida, and Cincinnati. Iowa State coming off a win against West Virginia that I feel like is improving. But outside of that, the win against Iowa. Not many other teams on their schedule look solid. So I'm curious about this match. Is this a game that Iowa State's kind of lost in the past? Will they, kind of fumble it here? What do you guys think on this one?
Yeah, I agree to a certain degree, and UCF obviously that we were all highly. I mean, I know I was high on them in the off season, just as somebody that could come in and really make some waves. And like we said, like you said, they just haven't. And with Iowa State, yeah, oh man, this pick sucks. Let's see here. I guess I would probably lean towards doing Iowa State in this particular one, just because I just think UCF has just been far too inconsistent, for lack of a better term. And I just like what Iowa State's doing. Do I think that Iowa State is the 9th best team in the country? No, I do not. I do not think that they should be ranked that high. But they are, and they're there for the time being until someone knocks them off. But yeah, in this particular game, I think that Iowa State definitely will win. I would imagine that they will cover that spread as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think Iowa State, they're very balanced. They got a solid quarterback, decent run game when they need it at times. The defense has been, pretty good. And UCF has just been a letdown. They get one dimensional and then they can't score. I don't like them in this game. I feel like they're choking the season away, and so I'm going Iowa State.
Yeah, I think Iowa State's, like you said, just too balanced of an attack. Even though like RJ Harvey's a special talent on the other side, they've been inconsistent. They've looked bad on defense at times, and I don't know. I think it's just going to be too much for Iowa State, and I think Rocco Beck's a solid quarterback, and I think they'll just find a way to pull away, even if it's close early. Maybe some mishaps or whatever. It's a late game. The stadium should be rocking though. So what the hell is you gonna do to Saturday night there? So go out, get crazy for your team, and Iowa State wins. That's what I'm rocking with. They were my choice to win the Big 12, so I gotta go with them, boys. All right, moving on. Kansas State, another Big 12 matchup. I mean, really, the Big 12 has been crazy this year. BYU, Iowa State, Texas Tech, all leading the conversation. Kansas State, Washington, or West Virginia are both lurking 2-1 in conference play. So huge game for this team or these teams. Somebody's going to come out and position themselves better in the Big 12 race. Who do you guys think gets the win? KSU's been looking solid. West Virginia, I feel like they're kind of coming up a little bit. What do you guys think?
Well, West Virginia has been a frustrating team for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I just no, I don't think Kansas State's that good either. So I think West Virginia holds serve at home against Kansas State and knocks them off.
Nice. I think Kansas State runs away with this one.
I think probably right. I mean, that's probably actually a safe bet, knowing the way my picks have gone this year. So whatever.
Well, I just feel like that running attack of Kansas State is just too much, and West Virginia just does not have a defense, and I don't see them being able to slow it down. And especially when you face a team that can run and score quickly running the ball like that, and it can get out of hand quick, and then they can turn around and keep the ball away from you. So I just feel like there's too much for Kansas State here, and I'm going with them.
Yep, that makes sense to me.
Look, Kansas State, they're only 2.5-point favorites on the road. So, I mean, Vegas knows something. They always somehow find a way in these tight games to figure something out. But, I mean, it's a 6:30 game in Morgantown. I mean, this place should be, again, going off the chain, but I don't really trust Neil Brown, to win these types of games. Garrett Green's 8 touchdowns, 6 interceptions so far on the year has not been pretty. Though I feel like you said, I thought it has gotten a little bit better. Sure. I just, again, Giddens, Edwards, and then Johnson, that combo is dangerous. Even when I think, quarterback-wise for Kansas State, I think, he still makes some mistakes when he shouldn't, like last week, almost letting Colorado right back into it. I think they're going to be just a little bit too much on the ground for West Virginia to handle. So I'm going to go KSU as well in pushing themselves into a good spot for the Big 12 race. Gents, Another Big 12 game, unless you got anything else on that one. We're talking Colorado and Arizona. Just a matchup thrown in there because it's also a 2.5-point spread in favor of Arizona. But Colorado, I mean, they've been explosive, and I know everybody likes to shit on them, whatever, but they're finding ways to win. Even last week, like they were right on the doorstep. If that dude didn't trip, running into the end zone, who knows what would have happened. So I'm curious your thoughts on this Colorado team. Who gets the win here, boys?
I hate this pick.
The struggle bus cats versus the old buffs.
This is rude. It's just rude that they put these two teams together right now. I'm not picking them 2 weeks in a row. I refuse. Arizona is going to win.
So I was trying to look up if Travis Hunter was playing defensively this week, if he was going to
I thought I saw that he might be out with an injury.
Yeah, I knew he got hurt last week. Not having him is huge for Colorado.
Yeah.
So here's an interesting stat. This same week last year, Arizona was the same record as well as Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
4-2, 3-3. Colorado, we know how they finished the year last year. Arizona, from this point forward, they went on to win 7 games. And that says something to me. The problem this year is Noah Fafita has thrown more interceptions than he has touchdowns, which is a huge problem. He is not the same quarterback he was last year. He seemingly has one target offensively. The problem with Colorado is without Travis Hunter, they don't really have anybody that can defend against the one player. They have some fast guys out there, but this dude's a monster. I'm not finding anything. All I can find is that he's questionable.
Yeah,
what I just read was. Go ahead, Trent.
I was going to say that's probably going to the way they're going to keep it.
Yeah,
they're going to keep him as questionable until the last moment.
Yeah, the last thing I read from 2 days ago was the last article I saw said quote from Coach Prime was that he should play this game. And I mean, he's got a Heisman potentially on the line. He's got all this stuff. I know he's got injured. He's working on a shoulder injury, is what it sounded like.
Sounds like Coach Prime's turning into Bud Kilmer.
So
giving him some injection shots.
Pump this motherfucker up.
You playing, homie? You playing?
Oh my god!
I hate picking Colorado, but Arizona just.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's Colorado has shown they're not. Just when you think they've got it figured out, they can score with anybody. But then they go out and they laid an egg against Nebraska. They couldn't score. Arizona does not have the same defense Nebraska has. The issue is Arizona turns the ball over a lot. But Colorado's not really a team that takes the ball away from you.
No.
So it's it's one of those things like the give and take, like he was talking about. And as much as it pains me, and I don't want to do it, I'm going to go with Colorado. I just feel like Arizona's going to hand it to them.
Yeah, and the thing about Fafita and stuff is look how good he played last year under that staff. I don't think it's necessarily a him problem. I think it's just what's around him and him being comfortable in this setting. He knows that McMillan's there. He's very comfortable with that, and they've had issues up front. So I don't know. I'm curious to see how this plays out for Fafita moving into next year. That's could be a portal target. But.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I wonder if all the interceptions that Fafita's having has more to do with the fact that he has no options.
Yeah,
but to be a one-trick pony, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, and I mean, he's still a young quarterback, so I mean, it could just be regression, whatever. But after last year, he looked impressive. So I don't know. We'll see. But Shedeur Sanders is a beast too. I mean, that guy can find a way to sneak a ball into any tight spots.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go with Colorado as much as I hate it too. But
I'm cheering for Arizona though.
Oh yeah, I mean,
cheer for Trevor to get that dub. Cheer for Trevor to get that dub.
Hey, the Colorado train's rolling. Their playoff hopes are alive and well, guys. I mean, we hate
I swear. I'm turning my computer off. My phone's going off of Wi-Fi. If they make the playoffs, I quit.
We're cooked. All right, boys. We're done for. Last game of the night that we're going to talk about real quick, South Carolina, Oklahoma. Interesting match. It's a 1.5 point favorite for OU.
And just put zero.
Yeah, just come on. Nobody knows at this point. But for real, that's why I picked it, because I'm like, who the hell knows? Oklahoma's offensively challenged. They got fresh, the young quarterback came in. I still think they should have probably pulled him last week, but I mean, trial by fire, I don't know. And then South Carolina coming off a tough loss to Alabama, which one they probably should have had. But I'm curious to see how this game plays out. Oklahoma's got a solid defense, but again, no offense. South Carolina, on the other hand, pretty strong defense. I think they can pressure this young quarterback. What do you guys feel on this one?
Yeah, you said it. My pick is strangely enough going to be the Beamer squad, and
who you hate.
I just hate saying his name. Like he's freaking Beamer the bum.
Beamer ball.
Bum the I don't know. I don't got nothing good to say about the guy, except he's got South Carolina playing better than they have in a while. So for that alone, I respect him. Other than that, he can kick rocks. But anyway, but Oklahoma, they're just. I'm not a fan. I don't like what they're doing on offense. I certainly am not a real big fan of what they're doing on defense. And I think that South Carolina has I can see a clear-cut path for them to scheme an offensive game plan and a defensive game plan to slow, if not stop, and embarrass Oklahoma in Oklahoma.
I agree 100%. I think this could go either way. I think these teams are literally looking in the mirror at each other. They both have really good defenses, and they both struggle offensively. The quarterback, particularly, South Carolina's had a lot of issues moving the ball. Running back wise, I give the edge to South Carolina. Mm-hmm. Wide receivers, edge goes to South Carolina. But offensive line, South Carolina still has offensive line issues. Oklahoma, I feel like, is better up front. And I do think we ultimately will end up seeing Jackson Arnold back in this game. But the injuries at wideout for OU, that's a lot to overcome against a strong South Carolina defense. But I feel like ultimately they find a way. I don't think South Carolina's got that offensive firepower to be able to move the ball on Oklahoma's defense. And I think there's a slight edge against the secondary of South Carolina that Oklahoma is going to find. But I think this is a very close game. And I could easily see South Carolina, if they can pressure the quarterback and stop that offense, they could very easily run away with this game. I just think Oklahoma's going to find it.
Yeah, this is a tough one. And I agree with both of you guys. It's just, who doesn't screw up, and that's, especially at crucial moments before half, right? Or last like 6-7 minutes of the game. I feel like South Carolina is going to find a way to win this game, maybe with a turnover, like a fumble or something, strip sack. I don't know what quarterback is going to come out for Oklahoma. And even if Jackson Arnold comes in, like you said, down receivers, and that's tough for young quarterbacks to deal with. So I still think I'm going to go with South Carolina win this one in a tight battle. But like you said, Oklahoma could squeak it out too. So we shall see. All right, that's our 10 picks of the week. Let's hit our gridlocks, boys, and then we'll skedaddle on out of here. We got week 8 picks right here. I'm going with TCU. They're 3.5-point underdogs to Utah. Blake's running with Nebraska, and then Trevor, I love it. Notre Dame's still struggling with injury issues. Georgia Tech,
come on, Yellow Jackets.
Hey, can they do it? And we want to hear your gridlocks. Make sure you comment them in on the Facebook and Twitter page, and we'll try to shout you out if we see you scored, you won yours. Like last week, Barbara went out and she nailed the big one. But look, shoot it our way, and we'll try to post it. Guys, anything else on this week? Like I said, a couple of teams could really position them nicely in their conference championship races, and also when it comes down to the playoff. So round robin, anything else before we shut her down?
Just appreciate everybody listening. I'm good. We'll see you guys on our live show on Sunday.
That's right. We'll check you guys out Sunday, and hopefully more chaos to come, boys and girls. We'll see you around.